What is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. So as you probably know, mechanics are one of the most fundamental pieces of anyone's Fortnite gameplay. Simply put, if you're not able to outplay people mechanically, you're essentially just going to be done for anytime you run into an above average player. So that's why in today's video, I'll be doing my updated guide on how to improve your mechanics in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 4. In this video, I'll be covering all the best methods to improve specifically your building and editing, that way you can win more fights and become a better overall player. Before we get into it though, be sure to drop a like on the video if it helps you out, and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more content just like this in the future. And lastly, if you want to help your boy out even more, consider using code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you and it seriously helps me out a ton. Thank you so much to everyone who's using it. But with that said and without further ado, let's get into today's video. So getting into today's video, the first topic we're going to be going over is the one that I always recommend when it comes to improving your mechanics, and that's grinding piece control. If you're not familiar with it, piece control is basically the act of controlling a fight using your builds and edits, and the goal of piece control is basically to eventually box up your opponent entirely, get a good peek, and secure the kill. Piece control is basically the ultimate combination of building and editing formed perfectly together in sequences you can use to outplay almost anyone you run into. If you have insane piece control, you can pretty much outplay anybody. And since piece control is such a fundamental piece of your gameplay, as well as involving both editing and building at a high level, I strongly recommend that you start grinding piece control if you're trying to get better mechanics. The way you should actually be grinding piece control for the majority of players is going to be something super simple, like a piece control map in creative. These types of maps have a ton of different piece control drills, all with instructions, and these can be used to practice different moves and situations, which will not only help you improve those situations, but your mechanical skill as a whole. And for this piece control practice, I have one classic map that I always recommend, and that's Raider's Piece Control Map V3. Made by Raider464, this map has pretty much everything you can need for piece control. It has over 25 different drills with different piece control situations with updated weapons and items as well. It's super simple to use, literally just run up to a scenario, select it, and start running through it. And by grinding out piece control consistently, you should see some major improvements in your overall mechanical abilities. You'd be really surprised by how much something like a piece control drill can actually carry over to pretty much everything you do. So with that said, I'll put the code up to Raider's Piece Control Map right now if you want to give it a shot. Moving on from that though, the next thing I want to go over is actually going to be a creative map, once again by Raider464. You should get used to Raider464 maps because I love them. And this map is going to be Raider's Mechanics Map V3. This map came out about a month and a half ago at the time I'm recording this video, and it has an absolute ton of different methods you can use to improve your mechanics. For the sake of time, I won't go into every single aspect in tons of detail, but I will give you guys a general outline just so you can see why this map is so helpful. The first section I really like in this map is the edit crosshair training section, which is basically a section where you select an edit you want to practice, and you're meant to follow these lines in order to make the edit in the most efficient way possible. By minimizing your mouse movements when you edit, like this course has you do, you're basically able to edit much faster, and the map can also move you around while you're doing it, so you can practice editing while moving and while under pressure. The next section I love in this map is the piece control X peak training. What this is basically a section where you have to perform piece control, but instead of just doing the move and shooting the target like you normally would, you really have to focus on your peaks here as well, since the targets are meant to shoot you if you peek too long. If you select normal mode, it'll be after 200 milliseconds you'll get shot, aka 0.2 seconds. Or alternatively, hard mode is 150 milliseconds, which equates to 0.15 seconds. This section is amazing because it helps you learn exactly how to peek in order to avoid getting hit, which is a crucial skill when you're using piece control against players who know what they're doing. Third up for this map though, and the next part I really like, is the box fight training section. In this section, you're placed in a box with a bunch of different sentries, and it's basically a simulation of box fighting under pressure. This helps you to adjust to using your mechanics in a bit of a tighter situation while also being shot at and having limited room to work with. And this can help you apply tons of different moves and strategies you've learned to a semi-realistic box fight type of environment. And that's incredibly helpful for improving. And lastly, guys, the final section I want to specifically mention here is the AI bot free build. This is very similar to the box fight section in the sense that you're attacking the sentries, but instead of a little confined space this time, you're actually meant to free build and come across the targets as you go. So this is a great way to practice free building and work on your overall building and editing while also getting some fighting mixed in. And it's all entirely solo, which can be a massive bonus if you don't have people to play with. Overall though, this mechanics map is absolutely incredible. It's got tons of different scenarios that target all sorts of skills, and it's definitely one of my top recommendations when it comes to improving your mechanics this season. Keep in mind, I didn't go over every single aspect of the map simply because of time, but there is so much more to explore and practice if you do jump into the map. So if you're looking to give Raider's Mechanics Map a shot, I'll put the code up on screen right now. Moving on from that though, and into our next topic, and we've got free building. Free building is one of the simplest ways to improve your mechanics. It requires almost no setup, it's super easy to access, and it allows you to practice literally any technique in the game. What you'll notice from a lot of pros is that whenever they want to take a break from the game, they're just trying to chill out, or even when they first get on and want to get warmed up, the first thing that they usually do is start cranking out some free builds. If you don't know yet, free building basically just means going into a creative map, whether it's your own map or a pre-made one, and literally just building and editing whatever you feel like. One of the biggest keys with free building is to really get some repetition in. When you're free building, always have some sort of goal in mind so you can get repetition in with whatever you're trying to improve, since repetition is absolutely crucial when it comes to learning new skills and improving your mechanics. When you free build, what I recommend you do is always set one particular goal. A couple of examples of this might include I want to work on my tunneling, or I want to get more consistent with my triple edits, or I want to learn this particular retake. And as you continue to improve your mechanics, you can then begin to freestyle it a bit more and spend more time just cranking out whatever builds and edits you feel like. But if you're a more beginner to intermediate player, starting off with a more targeted approach seems to be the best way to do this. Whatever you decide to do, free building is incredibly useful and something you should definitely make use of if you're trying to get better mechanics. You can do it in literally just an empty map, but if you want to have a specific map for free building, then you can still use Raider 464's mechanics map, which we went over earlier, since it does actually have an additional free build section included. Moving on from that, guys, and getting into the last section of today's video, and the last thing I want to discuss is fighting practice. In Fortnite, your ultimate goal with improving your mechanics is obviously to improve in fights and be able to outplay people. And one of the best ways to learn how to do that, learn how to counter tons of plays, and improve your overall mechanical skill is fighting practice. By fighting practice, what I'm basically referring to is any form of practice that involves you and another player fighting one another. This can mean something like a box fight, a build fight, a realistic 1v1, zone war, or even just regular matches. One of my favorite methods for purely mechanics is definitely going to be build fights. The reason I like build fights so much is because with the infinite materials they offer, you're basically able to crank out tons of different techniques back to back without any regard for your situation. It isn't really the most realistic form of fighting, but for mechanical purposes, I'd say that build fighting is definitely the best option for that. To build fight for improvement, I recommend yet another Raider 464 map, which is going to be his 1v1 build fight map. All you've got to do is head into there with a friend or head into the matchmaking portal to get matched up with a random player and just start build fighting. This is super easy and is one of the best ways to improve your overall mechanics, so I'll put the code up on screen so you can give the map a shot. Aside from build fights, other forms of fighting practice are also fantastic though. Pretty much any form of practice where you're faced with another player and forced to do mechanical moves is great for these purposes. What these methods do is they really allow you to apply your mechanics in real time and put you into situations where you're forced to adjust and learn new things, which is fantastic because it gives you just so much more variety. Since you have to adjust according to your situation, fighting adds a whole different layer to your mechanical practice, and it's definitely something you shouldn't neglect when you're trying to improve your mechanics in Fortnite. But with all that said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on how to improve your mechanics fast in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 4. Overall, by following all the different practice methods in this video, you should be well on your way toward improving your mechanics to an insane level in the current season. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more content just like this in the future. I've been grinding out tips and tricks content, and I don't plan on stopping. I plan to do a lot more videos this season than previous seasons, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. As well as that, if you want to show some extra support, then consider using code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you. It takes like 5 seconds to type it in, and it seriously helps me out a ton. Thank you so much to everyone who's using it. With all that said though, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.